Hey everybody, Miguel here. Today I want to cover another topic that is a little bit more advanced. This is how do you use Apigee policy extensions. So out of the box, Apigee has a wide range of policies. These policies cover different areas such as security, mediation, and transformation. But there's always some niche case or something that it's unique enough that's not covered by one of these policies. In that case, what Apigee does is that Apigee lets you write custom code. And the custom code can be either in Python, JavaScript, or Java. So today, let's take a look at how do we create a policy extension using Java. In Apigee, a Java extension is also referred to as a Java callout. If we go to the Apigee documentation and search for Java callout, we're going to see that there's already a getting started or tutorial for how to do this simple hello world Java callout. And let's go ahead and follow that. So let's go to the Apigee documentation, and in here, let's look for Java callout. And here. So how to create a Java callout. This is what I'm going to be referring to throughout this video. Initially, to create this hello world Java callout, I'm not going to follow the tutorial in the documentation word by word. Instead, I'm going to show you the process that I do on my own that I like to use to create this Java callout. For me, this involves using an IDE, IntelliJ. You don't have to do that. You can use any other IDE or just a text editor. It's up to you. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to open up IntelliJ and I'm going to create a new project. And this is going to be a Maven project. I'm going to call this Apigee callout, and I'm going to give it the same artifact ID. Great. So this is going to create a folder in my home directory with the same name. So let's click on finish. And there we go. We have a bare bones Maven project. This is what I'm going to be using to write the code in here and compile it and eventually test it in Apigee. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell IntelliJ that just go ahead and auto import the POM file. And this is all it's doing is just going to be smart about it and show the the stuff that I have in my POM file in here. So one thing I forgot. One of the main requirements for this tutorial is that you need to have Maven installed. I'm not gonna go over on how to install Maven. You can just search on Google for that, and it's very easy. Just download a tarball and extract it somewhere, and there you go. You have Maven. You also need to have obviously a Java compiler. IntelliJ usually already comes with a Java compiler out of the box, so I don't really have to install it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start writing some code. So in here, under the main directory, under Java, let's go ahead and create a class. All right, we're going to call it Apigee callout. And that's it. We have an empty class, nothing in here. Now let's go back to the documentation in Apigee to see what does this class need to look like and what interface do I have to implement. All right, so let me scroll down, and there we go. So the example, they're creating a package. Yeah, I'll create a package too, just for the sake of matching this. It doesn't have to be the same package that you have here. It could be your own package, and I'll do that to show you as an example. And it's importing some classes. Now, where are these classes coming from? I think it probably explains us somewhere in here. There are a couple of jar files that are available in a GitHub repo. We're going to be downloading those and installing them into the local Maven repository, and that's where these classes are going to come from. So for now, I'm just going to copy paste this, and let's go back in here, paste it. Now let's change the package name. So I'm gonna call this Miguel callouts. And obviously, IntelliJ is just saying, hey, the package name doesn't match the directory structure. So we can tell IntelliJ to fix that. And there we go. It fixed that. So now the class file is under a new directory structure. It's showing up as flattened in here, but it really is java/com/miguel/callouts. Now, next we need to fix this stuff here where the imports are not working. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and download those jar files. And once again, let's go back to the documentation. And in here, you can see that it's pointing us to a API platform samples repository. So let's go over there and grab the jar files. All right, so in here, if I remember correctly, there is a shell script that does the job for us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy paste the shell script. It's called build setup. There we go, this one right here, build setup sh. So literally I'm just lifting this from here. Now we go back into IntelliJ and let's create it right here at the top. New file, build setup sh, and paste it in here. Now let's go over the shell script itself to understand what's actually happening. So the first thing you can see here is using curl to download this jar file, expressions jar. Then it's running a Maven command, and the Maven command itself, it's installing the jar file onto the local Maven repository with this group ID and this artifact ID. Then it's removing the jar file because, once it's installed in the local repository, you don't need it anymore in the place that was just downloaded. And finally, it's doing the exact same thing, but for the message flow jar file. Oh, so yeah, one more thing. We need to make sure that the script itself is executable. So let's go to the terminal and chmod a+x and build setup sh. Great, so it is executable now, so we should be able to run it. Build sh. Let me make this window slightly bigger. And let's run it. So that's it, it's done. You can see this is the output of the two curl commands, and oh, actually, nope, there was an error. So you can see here that Maven command wasn't found. So that means that even though I have Maven installed in my system, in the terminal where I ran the command, I don't have Maven right there. So I need to add it to my my path. So I know that I have previously downloaded Maven and extracted it somewhere. So all I need to do is just add the bin directory for Maven into the path in this terminal. So I think it's in opt Apache Maven. There we go. And I actually have two versions of Maven. Let's just pick the latest version. 361 Vin. And this is what I'm going to add to the path. So let's do that. Let's put it at the beginning of the path. Great. So I should have Maven on the path now. If we run the same command again, the build setup sh script, then it shouldn't give that error anymore. Let's do that. There we go. And you can see that the two Maven commands are successful. First one to install the expressions jar file, and then the second one to install the message flow jar file. All right, so we got the two jar files installed. Next, let's go back to the POM file. Let me make this window smaller again. And in this POM file, we're going to declare those two jar files as dependencies. So dependencies, and let's start with the first one. Let's go back to the shell script. So first one is the expressions jar file. I'm just gonna copy paste this. That'll make it easier. And all right, so let's put the group ID. And let's put the artifact ID. And finally, let's put the version. Great. So we have one. Now let's do the other one. Gonna copy paste this and create a new dependency. So everything else is the same except for the artifact ID. So I'm just gonna copy that. All right, perfect. So we got the two dependencies declared, and I can actually take a look in the IntelliJ UI to see if it actually detected it. And let's see, dependencies, and we can see the two dependencies are here now. So let's go back to the Java code, and hopefully those imports should be fixed. And there we go, it's fixed. It's not showing us an error anymore. Even though it's showing gray, that means we're not actually using them, but that's fine. Next, we're going to make the code do something interesting. So let's go back to the Apigee documentation and look at that example. All right, so here we can see this is the hello world example that it's in here, and we can see that the class implements the execution interface, and then it has a method called execute. So this is the method that's going to be invoked by Apigee whenever the extension is executed in an API request. I'm just gonna copy paste this and we'll give it a try. Let me close this Maven window. We don't actually need it for now. So back in here in the code, this is where you would put your custom logic. Whatever it is that you want, whatever logic it is that you want to write, it goes here. So for now, I'm just going to do the bare minimum, and I'm just going to use the Apigee message context to create a new flow variable, and that's it. We're going to compile that, and then we're going to test it. So let's do that. So here we have message context, and we can see that there's a set variable method, and that's what we're going to be using. Let's call the variable foo, and for the value, I'm going to use hello world. That's it. Next, let's go ahead and compile this and try it out. So to do that, let's go back to the terminal, and I'm going to be running another Maven command that will compile and eventually package the class files into a jar file. This is going to be the Maven Package command. So let's go ahead and run this. And looks like we got an error. So we can see the error is saying that Java version 5 is no longer supported. Use version 6 or later. So basically we have to tell Maven what version to produce the output as, and also what version to look at the source code as. And to do that, we can pass properties to Maven where we can tell them the source and the target versions. So let's go back to the POM file and make those changes. All right, so in here, I'm going to add a properties section. And there's two properties that you can use for this. The first one is Maven compiler source. And we're gonna tell it that this is Java 8. And the next one is Maven compiler target. And we're also going to target Java 8 as well. So why Java 8? Well, as of this video, this is what it's supported in the Apigee runtime. In the future, this may change and later versions of Java may be supported. But for now, this is it. Let's go ahead and recompile, and hopefully that should fix the error. And there we go, no errors now, and we can see that it actually produced a jar file. Now let's look at the contents of the jar file itself. So to do that, I'm going to use the jar command and pass tf as the parameters and then the path to the jar itself. So you can see here, this is a list of every single file within the jar. But the most important thing in here is the actual class file. This is our Java code that was compiled into a class file, and that's what's going to be running Apigee. And you can see also here that this is the package name. The package name has been turned into the directory structure within the jar file. This is important. When we import into Apigee, we also need to tell it the package name so that when Apigee loads this jar file, it knows where to load the class from. So next, let's go into the Apigee UI, create a proxy, and in that proxy, we're going to add a Java Callout policy that uses the new jar file. So let's go into the UI. Great, so we're here now, and let's create a new proxy. For this example, I'm going to be using no target, since all I want to do is just showcase this policy. I'm just gonna call this Apigee Callout. And no security and no quota, that's fine. And I'm just going to deploy it to the secure virtual host and to the test environment. Great, so the new proxy has been created. Now let's go into it. Now in here, we go into the develop tab. And in the preflow, I'm just going to add a new policy over here. And the extensions are located at the bottom here. So under extensions, you can see the first policy is a Java Callout. And let's give it a name. And let's import the file itself. So I'm going to copy the path to the full path to the jar file, and that's what I'm going to enter right here. So this is the trick that you can do, or a shortcut that you can use in Mac OS, where in here you just press Ctrl-Shift-G, and you can enter the full path. So it will take us there. You can see. And under target, we have the new jar file. So we'll select that. Now let's add it. Next, we need to tell Apigee the location of the class file, including the package. So that's going to be Miguel callouts Apigee callout. Remember, this is the package name and the class file, and the name of the class. So you can see it over here. Great. So let's save this. Right. So it's saved now, and it's already deployed to the test environment. So we can actually go to the trace tool and make a call to test it out. Great, so let's send a request. And we got a 200 back, so that's great. And you can see here in the trace, the Java callout. And if we inspect the properties of the Java callout, you can see that a new variable, foo, has been created. And it has a value hello world. This is what we did from the Java code. So if we go back in here, you can see this is a variable that we created. Well, folks, this is it. This is the basics of how you create a hello world simple Java callout in Apigee. In the next video, we're going to take this same code and take it to the next level. We're going to be doing more interesting stuff, such as using an external library, and also we're going to be reading query parameters and headers from within the Java code. If you found this video useful, make sure to leave a like, and if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below or go to the Apigee community. I'll see you in the next video.